the plane crash that almost killed the drummer Travis Barker.
A little over 14 years ago, Blink-182's drummer Travis Barker escaped a fiery plane crash involving a Learjet 60 on which he was traveling to California. The accident occurred while the private jet was attempting to depart from Columbia Metropolitan Airport, or CAE, in South Carolina, and it left the musician badly injured. However, in an unlikely twist of fate, the accident also ended up prompting a musical reunion. The flight's destination was Van Nuys, or VNY in Southern California, a facility often used by Los Angeles-bound private aircraft. And as well as Barker and Adam Goldstein, there was two other passengers on board, Charles Monroe Steele Jr. and Chris Baker, and they were joined by a two-person flight crew, making the total 6 people. The rear-engine business jet was relatively new at the time, given that according to Aviation Safety Network, it had first flown in 2006, and given that the Learjet 60 can accommodate a capacity of as many as 8 passengers, its 4 guests made for a relatively light load. At 23:53 local time on September 19, 2008, it began a takeoff roll that would prove to be its last. While accelerating along Columbia Metropolitan Airport's runway 11, which is 2,622 meters long, the plane's occupants reportedly heard a loud bang. The pilots informed air traffic control of having experienced this audible sensation, and the controllers noted that they could see sparks coming from the jet. The crew opted to abort the departure, believing a burst tire to have been the cause of the noise. An investigation carried out by the National Transportation Safety Board found that there had indeed been a tire burst due to poor maintenance and severe underinflation. Unfortunately, by the time the crew had opted to abort the takeoff, the jet had already accelerated beyond V1, the maximum speed at which a departure can safely be halted. As such, it overran the runway. Ultimately, this caused the plane to crash through the fence at the end of the landing strip, careening over the adjacent South Carolina Highway 302 before stopping on an embankment, and at this point it burst into flames. Although Baker and Steele had sadly already perished upon impact, the fire also tragically resulted in the deaths of the 2 pilots, who passed away due to a combination of the smoke and burns. Both Goldstein and Barker were able to escape the fiery wreckage, albeit with severe burns. Barker spent a total of 11 weeks in hospital, having received burns to approximately 65% of his body, and during this period he had to undergo a grand total of 16 surgeries, with these procedures including grafts and transfusions. Meanwhile, Goldstein was hospitalized for just 1 week after the fiery accident, despite having received third-degree burns to his head and arms. He and Barker eventually performed together again in December 2008, but sadly Goldstein would pass away on August 2009 following a drug overdose in New York City. He was only 36 years old. Following Travis Barker's recovery, Blink-182 reunited in February 2009, having initially taken an indefinite hiatus 4 years beforehand. The pop-punk outfit has remained active ever since, and although for much of this time Barker didn't fly when on tour, having developed PTSD due to the crash, according to TMZ, he eventually hit the skies again on August 2021, almost 13 years after the accident. Thanks for watching, and remember, if it's more interesting, you can find it here.